Hey everybody, welcome to the Million Dollar Painter. My name is Richard Paul. I'm your host today. Each week, we basically uncover different types of stories, secrets, and strategies behind successful painting companies. We really want to just give back to the community. Everybody's in a different part of their journey. You could be brand new, you could be 20 years in, you could be 50 years in and hoping to get out soon. But we want to hear from the guys that are making it happen and hear about what they're doing and how they're taking their business to the next level. Today we've got Rick from Ricky Rick's Painting Company out of Atlanta. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good.
Yes,
Weather out in
sir.
Atlanta is starting to get hot.
Yeah, very, very hot. It's been raining these past 5, 6 days, so I've been having to shift all my exterior jobs and interior jobs, so you know how it goes.
I know how it goes. I actually got a
Yeah,
client that we just got started up in Marietta.
yeah,
So not too far from you, but just a little bit. But he's been saying the exact same thing. So
yeah. So it's
um,
been having to shift everything, and of course trying to keep your people busy, most importantly.
we can actually hit on that in just a little bit because
Yeah,
I find that for a lot of painting companies, usually under about a million or so,
yeah.
there's two main issues that they haven't solved. Some guys
Mhm.
are just fine with staying at like 200, 300,000. Other guys are like,
Yes.
hey, I'm sick of being here. I want to get to a million or two or three or four or five. And it's usually marketing and hiring. And if we don't
Yeah.
got marketing, can't keep our guys busy, and pretty soon our guys are gone, and we got to do the whole cycle all over again. So,
That's
um,
right.
yeah. So, talk to me just a little bit of. We were talking a little bit before we started the show. Talk to me a little bit about like where you started, why you started, and then kind of where you guys are at right now in the journey.
Well, I was brought into the construction world, painting world, since I was really a kid. My father, he came from Mexico back in the 90s. He passed away now, unfortunately, but he came back in the 90s to Atlanta. Well, first they were in Houston, then they moved to Atlanta, Georgia. This was when Atlanta was booming, when, new construction everywhere. He was doing jobs for John Wheelan, for a lot of big construction companies. At that time, I would say around from 92 to 96, he had about three or four crews, painting crews at that time. And a lot of people, he had a lot of crews, and I remember the day I was very young. I was born in 1992. So here in Atlanta. So I remember him and his crews, all the time. I'll go to his projects. I was 4, 5, 6 years old. Go to his projects. Sometimes he'll leave me there in the projects, just doing the putty on the baseboards, on the quarter rounds, doing the simple stuff that I could do. And same, just been doing it my whole life, really, and I never really liked school, so I had to like this. Right.
For a lot of contractors, I find, and I have a lot of buddies that have been in the contracting space, and I've been working with contractors since 2010, and
Yeah.
a majority of them have not exactly the same story, but pretty much the same
Mhm.
story. Either their dad was in it, their best friend's dad was in it, or their uncle was in it, and they got into it and basically stayed there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I hear this story very, very often. So.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how it started with me. And same as a teenager, I go to school, and then, in the summer, I'll be
Mhm.
working. I'll be in the painting, so that's how it was for me.
Yeah, yeah. So talk to me about a little bit where you guys are now. Do you guys have a couple crews or no crews? It's just you?
Yeah, no, it's actually three crews I have. It's a total of about 16, 17 people. And plus I
Nice.
have and plus some guys that, because I've been on my own for about 9 years now. I started when I was 24 years old. I'm 33 now. So I started 9 years ago on my own. We'll talk about how I got started and everything. But as far as crews, I have, yeah, about 16 to 17 people. And of course, I have guys that used to work with me that now have their vans and their equipment and their materials. So on my payroll, as far as my people that I pay weekly, I have 16 to 17. And then sometimes when I have too much work, the guys that used to work for me, they do my subcontract work.
Hmm.
So. Yeah,
That
when I got too much work, but yeah, I have to keep 16 to 7. Sometimes it shifts down. It's 16 to 20 people. Sometimes I have to keep busy yearly. Like that's mandatory. My subs, I keep them busy when I can.
16, 17 people in this industry. I mean, I
Yeah.
talk to people every single day and they are
Mhm.
chucking a truck, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they got a van, they got some sprayers, and they might
Yeah.
have a helper here and there, but running four crews, that's pretty
Yeah, no,
admirable in this space.
yeah, no, that's how I was. I had a hard time, like they would say, dropping the tools, because
Mm.
it's all like I couldn't trust nobody till I got behind somebody that was in the painting business, and that person in the painting business never in his life grabbed a brush or a roller in his life, and he has $1 million painting company, so I got behind him and I saw how they were moving in the business. So I was like, I could do that too, but it was just hard for me to drop the tools. That was the first step I had to do. And of course you have to teach everybody how you like your jobs to be done. And like I tell everybody, because 2 plus 2 equals 4, 3 plus 1 equals 4. You could do the problem differently, just give me the same solution. So that's what I tell my guys. As long as you could do it your way, and but as long as I get a good solution, out of everything, you got to give them that freedom. Otherwise, otherwise, a lot of people are not gonna want to work with you. You have to be a great leader.
I think that's one challenge for a lot of people. I don't care what type of business you start,
Yeah.
is letting go of control.
Hmm.
And there's a great book by Robert Kiyosaki called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And he talks about, you're an employee, you're self-employed, you're a business owner, or you're an investor. And for most people, they don't really own a business. They're self-employed. They basically almost have a job. It's just you're their own boss, right?
They're a slave to their business.
They're a
Hmm.
slave to their business. And a lot of times the reason why they never move from self-employed to a business owner is because what you just said, you can't give up control and you've
Yeah.
got to have it exactly your way. And a lot of times if we can start moving that, and sometimes one thing that you said that I love is you got behind somebody and watched them do what they're doing, and you're like, I can do that. And all you need to do was bridge that gap to, hey, I just got to give up a little bit of control for a little bit. The quality might not be right where I want it, but we're moving in that direction to where we can start putting people in place and having them start training people to where we're not on the brush. And I talk about this all the time on Instagram. Um, Not really on TikTok and but on
Yeah.
YouTube and stuff about, hey, you got in business. You probably were a painter at one point.
Yeah.
Then you got into business and you're like, well, I want to be a business owner, but now you're really on the trajectory to paint until you're 60. And I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, nobody wants to do that. And you look at, franchises like CertaPro and a couple other ones, and a
Yeah.
lot of the owners of those franchises, they've never picked up a brush. They
Never.
don't even know how to paint. Like they just
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
you painting
They know the
makes
business.
money. They know the
Yeah.
business, right? And
Yeah.
that's the bridge that, and that's part of the reason why we do this podcast because it's like, hey, you might have just started a year ago, but we need to have a trajectory of getting you off the brush and getting you into the business owner standpoint where you can work on your business and not work in your business because that's really why for most of us is why we start.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And like I said, growing up, I was always taught to work hard, work hard, work hard, but never work smart. So,
Mm,
yeah, I had to learn that. And to this day, I know a lot of people behind the van that are 40, 50, 60 years old, still struggling in the same position just because they've never learned that business side,
hmm
you know.
Yeah. So I know when we were talking right before we started, you said pretty much you have a little bit of a web presence on
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook, no real
Mhm.
website, and
Yeah.
nothing really on Google that at least I could find. So
Yeah.
you're running this type of a crew and this type of a business at this level. You
Yeah.
said basically on referral. So talk to
Yeah.
me about like how did that start? You started 9 years ago on your own. Let's start
Yeah.
moving. And now we got to 16, 17, 20 people on the payroll. Like, how
Yeah.
did you bridge that gap? Because I guarantee anybody that's listening to this, that's where you were and
Yeah.
where you are now, that they want to hear it.
Yeah, well, I started with my uncles. Like I said, they own they're 30 years in the business. They do a lot more commercial work, Zaxby's, Taco Bell's, Popeyes, Burger King. So they're always out of town. They're also based in Atlanta. And I started with them like official. Before then in my 10 years I was just going here and there, whenever I wanted. But I officially started working with them when I was like 21 and worked with them for 2 years straight, was going out of town. They started when I first started with them, I know I was making like $9 an hour. At the end, when I left, I they started paying me daily. My daily rate was like 250 a day. So, cause I'll pick up the people, I was a sprayer, everything. So that's what I was getting, but I'll leave the house at 5, 6 in the morning, pick up the crew members, and then go to the project. If we had to drive to Tennessee one day or Florida, then we get to work. We stay in the hotels, and usually the work schedule was from 7 to 7. So, so it was a long hours, long hours, and so I started there. Then, of course, saving my money little by little. Then got me a van, got a LLC, and after that, I started subcontracting for these big companies, like Certapro and all of those people. I started subcontracting for some of them, started subbing for my uncles too. And like out of there, I'll have like two or three members, and then plus me, I'll be the sprayer. And of course, I would tell everybody like the guys that were working with me at first were making more money than me, in the beginning, but I wasn't worried about that. I was more focused, on getting my bills paid, on, just my portfolio, build my portfolio. A lot of people tell me buy leads. I've never purchased a lead before. I've always, like I said, it's just off referrals. So purchase my van, then purchase, as I finish one job, then I'll get one ladder, then finish another job, buy another ladder, then just go and buy a spraying machine, stuff like that. Little by little, I built my equipment, and as you're going, you think, okay, now I got it. Then your van breaks down, and now you're stuck, and you got to get another one. So you got to go through those difficulties, but like I said, I just kept going, and I'll get one client, and that client becomes like a chain, like they'll refer you to a friend, to a family member, and it just kept going. Like I said, you don't pick your business up in 1 or 2 years. It takes 3, 4 years. I started seeing real momentum after my fifth year. I would say I started seeing real momentum. That's when I backed away from the field after my fifth year, just began in the business. But it was real tough in the beginning. Long hours, long hours. And now my phone, like I said, I don't even market that much. I'll post stories on Instagram and Facebook, every now and then. Today I wasn't able to do it because I was hectic. I had 4 projects going on at once, so I had 5 people here, 4 people here, 5 people there, so I had 4 projects, and it just got hectic today because, like I said, the rain's been messing me up. So I've been having to switch everything from next week to this week and taking materials here. And I have my 2 younger brothers. One of them's 18 and the other one is 21. They're working with me, so they help me take materials here and there to the crews, and help me with the things I don't have time doing.
Hmm.
And like I said, they still working. Usually our work schedules from 8:30 to 6 p.m. every day. And I pay them on a daily date because it used to be an hourly basis, but in Atlanta, I don't know how it is where you're at, but in Atlanta, mostly everybody gets paid daily, a daily fee.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. I don't hear daily fees very
Yeah.
often. I'll hear fees like when you're subcontracting, like, hey, I'm gonna, pay you 3 grand to do this whole job, and you figure
Yeah.
out, your employees. But as far
Hmm.
as daily fees,
Yeah,
I
that's what
think
I
in
pay my.
Oregon, I
Yeah.
almost think that would be illegal.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, we
A
pay
bully
a
here
day.
isn't very kind. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's like if you're paying them 20, $25 an hour, it's just, that's what because I've asked my guys, I said, would you like a hourly fee or daily fee? And they want a daily fee. So my less expensive person on my crew makes 150 a day. So, my
Nice.
most expensive makes 300 a day. So,
Yeah.
but that has the more responsible role of taking
Hmm.
care of the crew, being the manager role,
The lead guy. Yeah.
spraying, yeah, the lead guy picks up, has the van, all that stuff. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, let's transition a little bit to another topic that a lot of people struggle with is hiring.
Hmm.
So I think outside of marketing and having a consistent lead flow, hiring is probably the one of the number one things that we hear as an issue. Like everyone's like, "Oh, I can't find good help," which I hear like from all sorts of
Hmm.
industries, not just painting. So talk to me a little bit about your hiring process, because to
Yeah.
maintain 17 to 20 guys for a lot of times in the construction field, I mean, you're hiring people from Home Depot, you're hiring your cousin, you're hiring people that
Yeah.
show up drunk, you got to fire them. Like, how do you
Yeah.
maintain that type of a, size of a crew?
That's actually been the easiest part for me.
Hmm.
Getting people, because I've just kept my face card clean throughout all the years, like never had an issue with anybody. I'll pay what I have to pay. I actually go and tell them, okay, really, I don't put the price. I let them put the price. Like, okay, what is it that you want to make, And then that way in a month or two I don't have them complaining about I want to rate. You told me what you wanted, And of course we're gonna go from there. We're gonna go from there from, if I see every now and then, I give them bonuses here and there if I can, because of course you have some failures in some jobs. I've had jobs where I had to pay $8,000 out of my pocket, because lacquer got on hardwood floors, and I have insurances, but clients want it fixed right away. So, the insurance process takes little long evaluations, all that. So I've had to pay out of pocket because we're spraying cabinets, and, a little lacquer, ran through the paper and got it. And by the time we took off the paper from the floors, you had little dots everywhere,
Hmm.
lacquer that messed up the hardwood flooring. So stuff like that happened. So, the guys understand too, but other than, like I was saying, I've never had an issue with hiring people. I've actually had a whole lot of calls, a lot of people telling me, can you hire me? Can you hire me? Can you hire me? And I have about 6 family members working with me. So
Nice.
never had an issue. You pay them good, you pay them good, you pay them on time, you have work for them, you're never gonna have an issue.
I think two of the things you hit on, one, keeping them busy, because that's for a lot of, depending on where you live in the country and the seasonality of what you're actually trying to do, keeping them busy is huge because,
Yeah.
for a lot of guys, I see so many guys literally restart their whole business every spring.
Yeah.
They start getting jobs in, they're super busy, can't barely keep up. And as soon as fall
Yeah.
starts hitting, everything slows down, and then they lose all their guys. And it's like, well, they got families too. They got bills to
Yeah.
pay. Like,
Yeah,
where are
they
they going
can't
to
wait on
go?
you.
They can't wait on you.
And I wanted to touch another one on that one because I've had a lot of conversations because, of course, November, I still, mid-November, that's when it starts slowing down because of the holidays and stuff. So mid-November, I would say to February are my slowest seasons.
Hmm.
But I have some apartment units. Of course, I don't get paid much on those, but I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about keeping my people busy. So if I was just focused on what I'm making, then yeah, I had to let go personnel and all of that. But as long as I'm keeping my people busy in those times, because I'm making money, in the big season, summer, spring, and fall. So I know the winters every year is the same thing. So
Hmm.
as long as I could keep my people busy, even if it's jobs that I don't make money or if I'm gonna lose $100 or $200, it's fine as long as I keep my people busy. And a lot of people just want, and that's where it goes wrong. You need to keep your people busy, and that's what I do all year. That's why the people that are with me, they're with me, and of course I motivate them to, get you a van. Even I have youngsters working with me that are 24, 25, 23 years old. I tell them all the time, learn to trade good, and eventually buy you a van. The same process I did. Try to motivate them, try to guide them so they could become, do something for themselves. So, got to be a great
We could
leader.
hit on a
Yeah.
whole lot of stuff that
Yeah.
you just said.
Got to
The
be a
first
great leader.
Yeah, the first thing I think, is kind of taking yourself out of the equation a little bit, especially because we know, like, if you've been in the trade very long, I don't care if you're working for somebody or you're working for yourself, like, there's always the slow season.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to, lose your guys every year and restart, then you've got to, just keep them busy. And just like you said, hey, if I don't make any money, that's fine. But why?
Mhm.
Because it's going to be way less headache for you to like manage your budget for a few months
Yeah.
versus you having to find a whole nother crew and
Mhm.
retrain them. And it
Mhm.
just becomes a headache for a lot of people. So,
Yeah, no, there's been times where I have to, slow week. I have to find something in my house for them to do, just to keep them
right.
busy. Like paint my whole interior of my house, keep them busy.
Yep.
In my storage, go organize all the paint. So stuff like that you have like really, I think that's the most stressful part, not the hiring, but trying to keep them busy. Like every week, I have to be ahead of the game
Hmm.
3 weeks to a month, to maintain these jobs going and like I said, I've that's how I keep them busy. Sometimes, cut the yards or something to keep everybody
Just
busy.
yeah,
Yeah, just
exactly.
yeah,
Anything.
just moving their
Yeah.
friends, buddies, like all my buddies that want their houses painted. I always tell them, look, do not call me during the summer, spring, or fall. Call me in the winter. That's when you get the discounts. I'm not gonna get nothing on my end as long as you pay my labor. So I tell family members, friends, anybody close to me that I know, I tell them call me in the wintertime and I'll do your project. During the summer, spring, I can't, I'm too
Yep.
busy. So that's how I maintain too. So I have
Yep.
family member, friends calling me. I send them over my people and I just tell them, look, just pay for the paint, pay for their labor, and I'm happy.
Yep.
So yeah,
Exactly.
you just
One
got to
thing
find ways. Yeah.
well, I want to touch on real quick because I think this is a super important topic is kind of pushing the next generation of people and allowing them or even just talking to them about, growing to greatness by themselves, right?
Yeah.
And allowing that because there's a lot of guys I talk to, they're like, man, I hire these people, I train them up, they get really good, then they leave me. And I'm like, it's kind of just part of the process,
Yeah, and
especially in
that's
this
what you
type
want
of a
them. That's what
trade.
you want them to do. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I tell my guys. I want you. I don't want y'all to stay here forever. I want y'all to grow. I want y'all to be bigger. That's why we bring in other people. We teach them, and the process is a cycle. The
yep,
same cycle. It just keeps going. You grow them to be great, and when they gotta fly, they gotta fly. That's
that's
how it is.
exactly. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, we're kind of wrapping up on time here. If there was a few things that you had to give to the viewers, like whether it was a struggle, whether it was a success, something that, really made an impact on you, what would the maybe one or two things be that you would like share with somebody is like, hey, if you came, hey, I want to be a painter or I want to take it to the next level, what are the things that they should focus on?
Focus. Well, like I said, there's no recipe to this. Everybody has a different type of recipe. What work for me may not work for somebody else. What work for that person may not work for me. What I can say is just be consistent, believe in yourself. It's gonna be a lot of hard work, lots of hard work, but you just have to believe in yourself and keep going. Like I said, that's and discipline, a lot of discipline. If you tell a client you're gonna be there at 5 p.m., be there at
Mm,
4:50, or 4:55. So you have to be very responsible, disciplined, consistent, keep doing the same thing even on your sick days, on your worst days, whatever days, just keep being consistent, keep being disciplined and responsible. That's all I can say. And always try to give your best you can. And the most important part, keep your face card clean all the time, all the time.
I think those are, I mean, I talk to contractors every single day, and I think
Yeah.
if most contractors did exactly what you just said, be early or be on time, do your best, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like for a lot of people, it's like it's really should be the basics, but in this
Yeah.
trade or the construction trade, a lot of
Yeah.
times it's not, and that's why a lot of people are like kind of a little bit negative towards it. But
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference in your business and how fast you can grow your business because it sets you apart from pretty much everybody else.
That's
So
right. That's right. No, and if they're just focused on the money, then it's for me, I'm focused on trying to keep my clients, pleased, trying to keep, great quality. The money's gonna follow you, the money will follow you,
it
but
will.
first prioritize what's really important. because a lot of people prioritize the money and things go wrong.
Right, right.
Yeah. Always focus on your craft.
Well, we'll wrap it up here, guys. Rick, I appreciate you being on the call and sharing
Yes,
kind of
sir.
your insights on where you were, how you got there, and I'm sure our viewers are going to take away, some sort of value to really implement their business. To everybody listening, remember, every, big dream starts small. Everybody starts somewhere. All of us are going to have to do the hard work. There, we're going to have to go through the trials and tribulations. And, but if you do that and you do the work, you end up on the other side at some point. And just like Rick said, being consistent. If you could be consistent and disciplined, that's the, formula for success. And, you can take your business from wherever it is to wherever you want to go. I mean, you see a lot of these big companies, $1 million companies, $100 million companies. Some people really don't want the $100 million companies, which is fine. But I mean, you can create freedom through, your business and painting. So, uh, Rick, I appreciate you being on the show. Guys, until next time, go ahead and like, subscribe, share this with your friends or your family if they're in painting. Obviously, if they're not in painting, probably not going to be too applicable to them. But some of the basic principles of business are the principles of business no matter what you're growing. So, Rick, I appreciate you being on the call. And until next
Thank you.
time, we'll talk
Yeah,
to you next
thank you.
time.
Thank you. All
Bye bye.
right. Yes, sir.
All right, let me stop the recording real quick.